Test.
Thank you, I got your tag.
Yes.
Okay, it's 10:04. We have a quorum. I'd like to call this meeting of the Public Works Procurement and Contracting Committee meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, July 8th, 2015. Roll call, please.
Calling the roll, Mr. Germana,
Here.
Mr. Miller, Ms. Conwell,
Here.
Mr. Greenspan. Here. Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon is absent. We have a quorum.
Okay. Any public comment related to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair, no one has signed in.
Okay, great. Approval of minutes, we need two sets of minutes approved. The May 20th, 2015, and the June 17th, 2015. Do I have a motion to approve?
Also move to approve both sets of minutes.
Second? All those in favor say aye.
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 I'll abstain. I think I missed one.
Well, we need three votes.
Well, if
Which one did you
missed different meetings, we could vote separately. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for May 20th.
I'll second that.
Is that the one you weren't at? Okay. So I'm ready to vote for that, so.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. One abstention.
I'll move to approve the minutes for June 17th.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay.
One abstention.
One abstention now. Gene told me upstairs that the abstention is not necessary, so we'll get, I believe that. We'll have to get full clarification. People should not
I've never
need to abstain if they weren't at the meeting.
It's their choice.
Your choice.
It's
So
their choice.
just so we have that
Yeah.
straightened out. Okay, thank you. Matters referred to the committee.
Resolution 2015-0120, a resolution making award on requisition number 33225 to Chagrin Valley Paving in the amount not to exceed $1,779,434 for 2015 Operations Resurfacing Program Group 1 located in various municipalities, authorizing the county executive to execute the contract on all other documents consistent with said award in this resolution, authorizing the county engineer on behalf of the county executive to make an application for allocation from county motor vehicle $7.50 license tax funds in said amount to fund said contract, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective for the projects and municipalities as listed on the agenda.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Jamal Hussani with Public Works. This is the bid for our operation Group 1. We had 6 bids. The lowest bidder was Chagrin Valley Engineering at almost minus 19% from the engineer's estimate. We plan to start construction on August 1st and do the completion of the project by November 30, 2015. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions from the committee? Mr. Miller?
Just a comment that it seems to be a good example of the competitive free enterprise system at work with 6 bids. Is there SBE participation?
Yes, there is, and the Chagrin Valley has 30% SPE that they will meet.
So, and they're doing both projects, is that correct? It was grouped together?
Yes, so, and the reason we do that once in a while is when a project is too small, like Noble Road, it's a couple $100,000, it really doesn't do us any good to go out with that. So we group two roads, especially if they're on the same size.
More cost effective.
Yes, yes, it
You
is.
get some economy of scale. They can set out their equipment once and move them back and forth between the projects.
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
Okay, I'm glad to see so many bidders. I'm glad to see so many of them are below the estimate. I'm just wondering, I see Burton, Scott contractors are not compliant, but it looks like they're using some of the same SB contractors.
Let's see.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
It's
the
28, 28.97. Okay, I've answered my own question. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, let the
One question.
record reflect that Councilwoman Simon is here. Yvonne?
Through the chair, just wondering, this came before us before, but that must have been the design review, because I'm remembering the streets.
Yes, this came to you as a welfare convenience for those both projects. It came separate, welfare convenience for Noble and then welfare convenience for East 250. But then we grouped them together and bid them as one job.
Okay, and when you listed the dates, August to November, that will be they will both be getting repaired or resurfaced simultaneously?
That will be decided when we have our pre-construction meeting with the contractor, which is probably as soon as you guys approve it, we'll set up the meeting. Then the contractor will give us a schedule of where he's going to start first and how he's going to work. But the start and completion is for both projects he has to finish.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman Simon, I know you want to express your interest in getting this moved along. Go ahead.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair. With regard to moving this forward, I would ask if we can move this under second reading suspension at the next council meeting, because we need to get this moving with the weather as
Yep.
well. With the weather is really impairing, the expediency of getting these streets done. So it would be helpful if we could move it along without objection.
Okay.
I would make a motion then to favorably recommend resolution 2015-0120 to the full council with a recommendation that it be placed on the agenda for passage under second reading suspension.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
One more thing.
Yvonne?
Through the chair, and this is off topic, but kind of, the 750 license tax funds. I've noticed that BMV is now, you're able to purchase your registration 2 years in advance and things like that. How does that play for us? When individuals do that, are we getting the money ahead of time, or how does that work?
That I wouldn't know. Do you know, Mike?
Because I just recently found that out.
It just,
that you-
yeah, actually I did it
Just
for
wondering
one of
how
my
that
cars.
plays.
All of the funds we get comes from that license tax, as you indicated, and on a monthly basis, the BMV go ahead and forward that money down to our county budget commission, which then comes to us. So as they collect it, it's coming into our coffers. One of the things we're gonna have to kind of keep an eye on is how many people are paying in advance so that we don't overcommit. So I think it's fairly new, so we're kind of trying to keep our eye out on that.
But you are aware of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
The
you.
impact, though, we don't really know the impact just yet.
Because it just started this year, I
Right,
believe.
and that's what I'm trying to figure out is ultimately, how much we're gonna end up collecting on that.
Because then you'll have to kind of split that money.
Absolutely, so we don't overcommit, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up. It's pretty pertinent.
Oh, we'll do more projects now.
Maybe the finance committee will follow up on it. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any final comments before we vote? All those in favor of sending it to the full council under second reading suspension, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next,
Ordinance 2015-0011, an ordinance enacting section 705.03 of the Cuyahoga County Code to establish sewer connection charges for the 2008 Bagley Road Sewer Project, amending County Resolution Number 052209 dated 6/2/2005, which established the charges payable for connection to the county sanitary sewer system in County Sewer District Number 14, and declaring the necessity that this ordinance become immediately effective.
Stan?
Good morning, Stan
morning.
Kozaleski, Public Works. What I'd like to do is read a little bit of a history of how this project came to be and how we came to this resolution with the trustees. So, some background on this. In 1996, the Regional Sewer District, through working with the County Sanitary Engineer's Office, extended the sewer on Bagley Road to roughly where the high school is right now. It was planned to further go down Bagley Road to roughly just through Stearns Road. But there was a decision made at that time at the sewer district because of the rock levels were higher than anticipated, and it was going to push the project out. So back in 1996, they stopped that sewer short of where it was originally supposed to go. The sewer district was the lead. The sewer district worked with the residents and paid for that. In 2008, when Bob Kleiber was appointed the sanitary engineer by the commissioners, the Bagley Road sewer project then was extended from roughly where the high school is all the way through the Stearns Road intersection. And at that time now, those residents could now connect into the sewer. Back then, there was some confusion as to what the residents and businesses would be charged for tap-in fees. For this piece of sewer in 1996, the residents, the piece that Regional put in, they worked with the Regional Sewer District to pay their share of those costs. The county was not involved with that. Now, when we extended this sewer, some residents tapped in and some didn't. So that's where some of this confusion started. In 2005, under the direction of Bob Kleiber, we did a study throughout the township when we came in with basically these tap-in fees. How much would it charge a resident? Normally with sanitary sewer projects, if you don't have tap-in fees, you'll do assessments for a project. You'll say, okay, it's Fitch Road from here to here. You figure out the cost. You can prorate them by various things in terms of property value, construction costs, whatever. Then you do an assessment. You do an equalization board. Part of the tap-in fee thing was we looked at the whole township, what it would cost to build these sewers. They were construction costs estimated, and there was fees and how much it would cost. Then the tap-in fees are derived out of that. So there's two different ways. This way it's a little bit more fair and equitable throughout the county, because if you have a larger sewer in one area that impacts residents down, everybody kind of pays their fair share. So that's a little bit of a history. And when those rates were established by the county, there would be the Ruth Langsner study, if any of you have been aware of that. They were set in 2005, and then every 5 years to keep up with every year 5% inflation were to keep up basically as sewer projects would be built in the future. This was all spelled out and approved. So the confusion came in 2008 when this was built. Some residents tied in, some didn't. Some of the businesses tied in and some didn't. Working with the trustees, they were like, well, how can we go back and make sure there's some miscommunication at the time? What should we charge some of these residents? It's impacting some of their businesses. So working with the trustees, also at that time, we did not have our mortgage loan program. So anybody would have had to pay the full amount. So after much work with the trustees, they passed resolution number 37-215, which I can get you a copy of, which we came to a conclusion is since, there was some confusion, the earliest time we had any rates when that sewer was available in 2008. So we felt, in working with the trustees, that an equitable way to do it was go back to the 2008 rates, give anybody that was built at that time, the residence or business was built there, give them the chance to tie in or refund them a small portion to the rates at that time. So that's what we're proposing in front of you is basically any of the residents on the section of Bagley Road or a business that they need to tie in, they will be to the 2008 rate, and then they would also be able to tap into the mortgage program. Anybody that paid prior to this, we would go back and look at that rate, see what it would be, and if there's a small refund, we would go back and adjust each one of those. If anybody was built after 2008, there's a CVS on the corner of Bagley and Stearns. They came after, they're not eligible for this. So that's a brief overview of what it is. It's a little bit of a confusing and complicated issue, and I apologize for that. Hopefully I answered your questions. But at this time, before I'd entertain any questions, I'd like to have Janine Kress, the trustee from the township, come up. We've been working with them on many issues in the township with Sherry Lippis and Tiffany Fishbach. So I'd like to ask Janine to come up. Thank you.
Thank you very much for hearing our
Good morning.
request. Good morning. I'm Janine Kress, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have regarding this situation. We appreciate the efforts of Public Works, both Stan and my chambers, who've worked very diligently with us. This is a prime economic, Dave, who served our district for a while, knows this is a prime economic development area for us. And allowing this to go forward and connecting that corner, there's a fair-sized plaza there at these rates. It's just allows us to close that issue and move on.
Okay. Dave, you want to?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this when I represented the township back in 11 and 12, this was an issue back then. What's important to understand is that state law requires that once sewers are made available to residents who are not on sewer, that they must tie in within a certain period of time. And I think this body will remember back when we worked with this issue to provide some economic relief, because some of these tie-in fees and the connection costs, in some instances, are even half the value of the homes, depending on how far they are from the street. So we offered an opportunity to provide some relief, and some of the residents, most of them took us up on that offer. The challenge is that the Department of Health can, if they don't tie in within a certain period of time, they literally come take their property, basically put liens and make it so financially challenging that they can take their property, because by state law you have to tie in within 6 months, or there's a period of time that they have to tie in, which I don't necessarily agree with in that perspective, but it's state law and it is what it is. This will just provide an extra incentive for those who have not tied in at a different rate, and also take advantage of a program to help them defer the costs.
That's exactly right. The loan program plus the 2008 rate will provide the incentive. We do work very collaboratively with the Board of Health also. And I think there is a specified time period, but they attempt to work with people to help them move forward on these issues. We may not even know where Olmsted Township is. It is the farthest southwest suburb. We abut Lorain County, and we're 10 miles square, 10 square miles, and have around 14,000 residents. And a lot of our main roads are still not sewer. We just got water in some areas along Lewis Road. I've lived in my home for 50 years, and so many of these people just now got water. So we're working at it very slowly, incrementally, but this has been a big help to us, and Public Works has been extremely on task with us.
Any other questions?
I just want to be clear, thank you. So the project, we completed phase 2 in 2008 because the sewer district couldn't and wouldn't finish up what they did phase 1. We came in and did phase 2, completed in 2008. So we want to retroactively apply the 2008 fees for anybody who's connecting in from 2008 to now?
Right. I think this ordinance is written to go through the end of the year, as long as these people, so anybody that's connected would go back to them and figure out what the difference would be if they connected in 2009 or 10. Of course, because of the Board of Health issues, whenever they were able, whatever, they would get a slight refund. And then anybody like I know the IJ Plaza over there, they're ready to, we've already got their paperwork and they really need to do this to help expand their business. So they'd be on board. And what helps is the loan program. When I talked before about the assessments, the difference is when you do an assessment, you can put it on you can pay it over time, which is a good thing, but it usually comes out higher. With the tap-in fees, it's usually a little bit less to the residents, but you can't put it out over time. That's when Councilman Greenspan said about this loan program. It's more work on our part, but it helps defer the costs over time to the residents, so.
And so basically, we're just doing this to help people tap in and give them relief.
Correct.
It is, less about confusion, more about just assisting this transition.
Correct.
Okay. And just a question on the ordinance itself, which you may or may not be able to answer in the 5th whereas. It talks about the residents will receive the benefit of 2008 sewer connection charges, which I understand, but then it talks about as set forth in resolution dated 2005. So the question I have, is that a projection in the 2005 resolution?
The 2005 resolution would approve the Ruth study, which approved the tap-in fees. So we have to go back to that resolution saying, here's what set the fees, and then it had that 5% increase every year. So we need to refer that to go back to saying where we're doing the charges from.
Just how the fees are established?
Correct.
Not the fees themselves, right? Okay, thanks.
Okay, Ms. Conwell and then Mr. Miller.
Yes, through the chair. Just going back, and this may be a question for the trustee. You stated that CVS was new, and this is economic engine area. Just wondering what was told to CVS, if anything, in regards to this transpiring or to the new businesses that won't be able to tap into this. Was anything shared with them?
I just think it was all, actually this resolution only concerns people who are already there. And CVS is brand new, and so they paid the current rate. They weren't shared anything else. As far as I know, didn't do that. They're brand new, they pay the current rate. The prior rate relates only to people who were there during that time period. The project essentially stopped at the high school, at the middle school there, because they realized there were issues with engineering and construction. All these people were set to go, including the Shaker Plaza, the IGA Plaza. Everybody was set to go. But everybody could see that the school was not going to be completed in time for school to start. And so it became an expedient thing. And basically these folks at the tail end here, I think there were maybe 20 of them plus this plaza, were told, be a good neighbor, be a good citizen. And they were. And they said, okay, we understand it won't get this far. But now they were almost like being penalized for being a good neighbor and waiting all this time. So our goal here is to make it whole and right.
To also add to that, when CVS was built, they went through our normal permitting process and stuff, and this is what the rates were. And this was there because of some of these confusions on the promises, the good neighbor thing, what was going on when the sewer would come in. So that's why we're only addressing, because the thought was if when this in 2008, whoever was there could have tapped in, as the councilman said, you have to tie in by the Board of Health and stuff. We've been working with them to hold off on finding or doing anything to the residents that haven't tapped in for various issues until this issue gets resolved, because this will very much help ease their financial burdens with the time. To give CVS that benefit, they weren't built in 2008. It wasn't even conceived in 2008. To give them a benefit to a connection fee when they weren't even considered yet, we didn't think that would be fair to the other residents. So that's why they'd have to pay the current rates.
What are the current rates?
I don't know, Mike, if they vary by entity and stuff, but
But my whole point is they were aware that they weren't allowed to get in or any new business? Was that even discussed?
I think this process has just come about in the last 6 to 9 months. They've been out there over a year now, so we really weren't even in discussions with us at that time.
The difference is about $1,300 per single family equivalent. So I'm not sure how many CVS's,
Yeah.
SFEs they are, but the average resident's $1,300 difference between the 2008 and current right now.
Because the tap-in fees are based upon the usage of the property. If it's commercial or an industrial, there's different, and that's all part of that 2005 study and how we charge them. But basically, residents are basically charged on a single-family unit.
And these families that need to still tap in are, I know you're offering a loan program. Can they all afford it?
We will reach out to them and notify them. I mean, this is where it becomes, you've got, once the sewer's available as the Board of Health will start pushing them to half the time because that's what they have to do. They can't be, because there's so many bad septic systems out in the township. This is just an opportunity to help them reduce it. If they are in, I know there's some programs, I think through is it the auditor or the treasurer's office? Development through, for help them offset some of these costs. So when we've had public meetings on projects in the past out there with the trustees, we always make sure that those people are out there. And if they do qualify for any of those programs, that they work with the appropriate people to help either, I'm not sure exactly how those are set up, but whether it's lower interest loans or if they get to pay, I'm not sure, but we put them in contact with the right people, and then it's up to the residents then to reach out to and process that paperwork.
Mr. Miller?
What would be a typical tie-in fee for a single-family home under the 2008 rate?
And since this is the trunk sewer, the 2008 rate was, one second. The 2008 rate was $2,754. The 2015 rate, and this is per SFE, per single family, so we're talking about a homeowner. The 2015 rate is $4,069, so a difference of about $1,300.
And how many years is it spread over under the loan program?
The loan program is a 10-year spread, and we invoice them twice a month, twice a year. We try to follow the property tax billing, even though it's not on the property taxes, it's a separate invoice.
And did I hear correctly that there's an end of 2015 deadline for people and businesses to get in under this program, under the legislation?
That is correct. We have, I believe it's a total of about 11 properties we have to issue some refunds for, and then there's about another 11 or 12 that we have to reach out and contact to, one of which being the developer Kingston Corner. We already have their mortgage application in. We were waiting for this approval so that we can actually go before the residents and give them a valid solution.
And how much do we expect the refund's total amount of refunds is gonna amount to, and how is that gonna be paid for?
Yeah, we got a total of 13 refunds, and all said and done, we have 10 at $593, 2 at $936, and 1 at $1,100. The total is $8,923 of refunds for those individuals who have already connected.
Okay, well, I think that the sewer program can handle that. Okay, thank you.
That's exactly what my question is. What funds, well, let me just get an understanding. In cities, when they have a sewer project, they assess the rate to pay for the full construction, and then people are assessed based, and a lot of times it's on footage.
Right.
So what fund does this come out of?
The township is its own district, what we do is you'll be seeing, I think at the next subcommittee, Barton Bronson Cook, we've talked about that before. It's new sewers out there. A lot of times what we do is the fees that we collect pay for the sewers. Sometimes, depending upon how it's set up, sometimes we'll take loans out so we can move forward with the project, and then as the fees come in, we pay down the loan. So we look at each project individually. Do we have some funds in the bank from tap-in fees that we might have a little reserve for? Can we just pay for that? And then as the tap-in fees, they go into that account. Or if we're short some money until we can get all the tap-in fees, sometimes we take a loan out. And then it gets paid back through the tap-in fees as people connect and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a dynamic process, but that's how these tap-in fees allow us to do it. So we make a determination before we go forward with a project. Do we have funds in the bank to pay for it? Or is this one that we'll need to take a loan out and then pay it off as the tap-in fees are paid?
So what we're talking about, or I'm asking the question, Olmsted Township has, they're part of our sanitary sewer.
Correct.
And they have an annual assessment.
Correct. Then the annual assessments for maintenance of the system that's in place. So only the people that are tapped in pay that assessment. Then as sewers come in, they pay the tap-in fees, which is basically their cost of construction for that sewer. So if you go in a resident where there's a new subdivision where there's sewers and water put in there, that's built into the cost of your lot. So that's why you have to go back in and do these tap-in fees or these assessments, because the people that bought the lots, the developer hasn't put them in there. So this is the mechanisms, those are the two mechanisms that governments have to put in sewers after the fact.
So I'm just want to, again, put a plug in for one of my favorite topics is how great our sanitary engineer program is in all the cities that are involved. Because if it wasn't for that, cities could not move forward until they came up with the money to do it, where we will, Cuyahoga County Sanitary Engineer will advance
Right.
and catch up. So another plug for the program. Mr. Greenspan?
Great, yeah, thank you. So, this is how I look at this scenario. This is almost like a home retention program option, because if we don't do this and these 11 homes, let's put it this way, if we don't offer an option and these 11 homes do not pay in, the Board of Health will effectively take their property by state law. I mean, I'm oversimplifying the ultimate end process. Now, if these 11 folks do not, it's 11, correct? If these 11 folks opt to do nothing, I think we can say we've done everything we can here to help you. Get on my soapbox a little bit. In the state that I used to live in that begins with a G and ends in an A, the law was different. If you put in a septic, you didn't have to tap into the sewer when it was made available until your septic system failed. So you had some folks out here that might have put in the system within the last 5 years or a year, even a year before the sewer was available, and they spent $10,000, $15,000, and then they immediately have to go in because the sewer is now available and tap into the system, which could cost them another $20,000 or $30,000, and they have to make their septic system obsolete. Now, unfortunately, on this road, and this is if you've not been out to this part of Olmsted Township, when the trustee was talking about economic development, there's only one grocery store in the township, and it's at this corner. So, we're talking about, this is kind of their economic development, commercial corner. So it's important that we support this. They have a JED out that they don't even have water or sewer running to it. So talking about economic development, they can't even get businesses interested because there's no way to even provide the essential services. So that's a digression. What I would say here, this is a good program. It's going to ultimately help these residents, provide them an option to tap into what they are required by law to do. And we've done this in the past. We did this 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And I think we should do this because a lot of these systems, if you were to look at soil samples that the Board of Health has done, the soil samples in some parts of Olmsted Township are horrifically high as it relates to E. coli and other human contaminants due to overflowing and backed and broken septic systems. So we've got to do what we can to help get that done, and then the whole different issue of remediation will soon follow.
Okay, one other question. This doesn't involve going from the sanitary sewer to the house. That's
Correct.
for people's own responsibility.
Correct, yeah, the county can only go up, or the government entity can only go up to the right of way and provide that T and that connection. Then it becomes the property owner's responsibility to take that from their property. We cannot go on people's property. So you're correct. And that's where some of those other loans or the low interest loans are available to residents through development and stuff to help them pay for that. Or so there are other programs that help those residents that do that also.
And I remember the cases, but I can't remember how it was resolved when this happened in Parma on Pleasant Valley. There were some homes that were pretty far away from the sewer line,
Right.
on rock all the way. And the cost to put in the sewer was more than the value of the house.
Yeah. There's some instances, and I can get you the information. I think if your house is set so far away from the sewer, I think it's a couple hundred feet. I think that connectivity issue doesn't become an issue because you're too far away from the sewer. But those are the issues that, unfortunately, if you, again, going back to your example, if a new subdivision's going in, when you go to build a house, the sewers, the water line, all the connections are up to the right-of-way line. It's up to then that whoever's building that house has to provide all those connections from it. So it's kind of the same concept here. We're just trying to get those sewers to the residents for them to connect into. And to Councilman Greenspan's points about septic systems and stuff, we've been working with the Board of Health for many years trying to say, hey, we've got a sewer coming in here. Try to give them some leeway so those situations don't happen if we can help it, where somebody has they have to replace their septic system and then tap in down the line because the residents can't afford it. A lot of the newer residents in the township, the bigger homes, these are already paid for through their development when they're tapping in. We get those charges from the developer. These are the ones, a lot of the residents that have been there forever, it's more the rural section of it. So we're just trying to help them out because the newer homes that built there, these people don't even realize that this is part of their home cost when they're building and buying their new home.
Okay, any further questions?
Just a quick question of the trustee.
Okay.
So how long have you been a trustee in the township?
Actually, I've been a trustee for only 4 years.
4 years?
Yes, we're a fairly new board, all women.
Right, I
The
know.
longest one's been on for 6 years.
Okay.
6 years.
So you're getting
And
things
7
done,
years.
right? You women?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You really don't want to get me started on sewers, water infrastructure, E. coli, because you will kick me out. But I do appreciate your hearing us today, working collaboratively with us, and also the support that we've received as we've worked with Public Works and County Planning, Board of Health, and many of the agencies that have really been there for us, worked with us. It ultimately falls to the local representation to identify and set the agenda, set the program, and then identify the partners who can help us. And we've worked very hard to get our share done, and you've been very good partners with us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm assuming because the deadline is 2015, we want to give the residents as much time as possible. So we probably should go second reading suspension on this.
Thank you.
So if any objection to that? So Mr. Greenspan, you want to make the motion?
Sure. Make a motion to recommend ordinance 2015-0011 to the full council for second reading suspension, for adoption under second reading suspension.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any final questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. This will go to the council second reading suspension. Okay, is there any, I have no miscellaneous business. Is there any public comment?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, well, that concludes our agenda, so this meeting stands adjourned.